Okay, so this is where the story gets tawdry, and I quote, Alice also began an affair unknown to Marsh with Lyndon B. Johnson. According to Mary Louise, she wanted to marry Johnson. He was in a difficult position, as in the 1930s a divorced man would be effectively barred from a political career. Johnson considered taking up a job as a corporate lobbyist in Washington. Alice rejected this idea as she considered he had the potential to become president of the United States. And that quote is from Mary Louise, who is Alice's sister. She goes on to claim that Lyndon was the love of Alice's life. My sister was mad for Lyndon, absolutely mad for him, close quote. Since Marsh owned 6 influential newspapers in Texas that supported FDR's New Deal, the president obliged Marsh in a meeting. Marsh decided to take this opportunity to introduce Roosevelt to his new protege, Lyndon B. Johnson. However, Marsh didn't learn that his new protege was busy taking his place with Alice until late 1939. Even though Marsh was infuriated by this turn of events, quote, they didn't let her come between them. Men in power like that don't give a damn about women. They were not that important in the end. They treated women like toys. That's just the way it was, close quote. Quote, Alice Glass gave birth to 2 children while she was with Charles Marsh, but refused to marry him. Alice's sister, Mary Louise Glass, explained her unusual character. Quote, she, meaning Alice, was a free spirit, very independent in an era when women weren't that way. Close quote. According to Janet Conant, the author of The Irregulars, Ronald Dahl and the British Spy Ring in Wartime Washington, which was published in 2008, I quote, having already made his fortune, Marsh, like many men of means, wanted to contribute to the war effort and had decided to put himself at the disposal of the government. A dedicated New Dealer, he had come to town with the idea that he could put his big money and big personality to work for the Roosevelt administration, camping out alternately at the Mayflower Hotel and at the house of the construction magnate George Brown, before purchasing a stately 4-story townhouse at 2136 R Street in DuPont Circle. He quickly turned the elegant 19th century mansion into a well-financed, democratic political salon where various cabinet members, senators, financiers, and important journalists could count on a good meal and stimulating conversation in the news-starved town. Over time, prominent New Dealers came to regard Marsh's white sandstone mansion with its Palladian windows and Parisian-style wrought iron grillwork as their private clubhouse and used it as a cross between a think tank and a favorite watering hole, close quote. Wealthy men with nothing else better to do is dangerous to our government. They wield their money to draw in for themselves power and influence over decisions regarding our country, our cities, and lastly, over ourselves. There are many that have been blackmailed into submission or perhaps bought off. Either way, the end is always the same and what has ultimately led our country to the point of where it is now. What have we learned? Culpeper has a root system tied not only to our intelligence communities, but to the wealthy elites, to the dirty politicians, and the underage sexual abuse and trafficking trade. Is every city in America this complicit to the evil that transpires within its limits? Culpeper represents everything wrong in small-town America, but is that the point? Is that the experiment, or at least part of the experiment that Mr. Petty or Mr. Gottlieb was working on? Perhaps, maybe, even though the full explanation is more complex than I first thought, especially when you add the MKUltra projects and sub-projects that were taking place at the time. Nevertheless, party affiliations don't matter too much anymore. Loyalty only seems to lie in the money or influence and the power that they bring, which is nothing new. As the web continues to spin, stay tuned.